Hello, I'm just live streaming here as a test for getting ready for tomorrow, but I decided to do something along with that to help out the honor section, those that are having some trouble with the PHP version of the lab. Again, if you already have Java experience, you should be doing the PHP version of the lab. But if you don't already have Java experience or feel like your Java experience could use some updates, then I would encourage you to do the Java version. Again, if you're in the honors section, you only need to do one or the other. But to walk you through a little bit, because we did a walkthrough of the Java version of the lab, I just wanted to walk you through at least the initial setup here of getting started with PHP. First of all, if you're from the last semester, you can of course use the CS50 IDE and clone directly from there. Or another tool that I like to use is REPL. You can go ahead and type PHP directly in your browser. Let me go ahead and just do that. I'll just print a hello world here and run it, and you can see over here on the right hand side that it's been run. So REPL it supports multiple languages. Of course, you can use that. You can also use the CS50 IDE like you've been using before. You can use the PHP interpreter there too. So let me go ahead and just create a hello world file here. Hello.php. And I can open that up in the editor up atop here and do the exact same thing that I did over here. Right. And when if I want to run this now after I save it, it's just PHP and then the script. Okay. So I showed you those two things up front because you might be already familiar with them. But of course, that assumes that you're going to stay at the command line. So part of the lab is that you are going to have to clone a project and then put it in your public HTML directory and take a look at the rendered web pages. So what I'm going to do is I'm on a Mac here, so I'm on terminal. But if you were on Windows, of course, you would need PuTTY, or I believe that the Windows CMD command now does have. It might require you to install it, but it does have an SSH client. Either way, what I've done here is I've opened up a terminal on my Mac. Now this is the terminal as in the apps. It's not the terminal as in somebody was using their terminal in the Eclipse IDE. This is the terminal from the actual apps, which should come installed on any Mac OS. Now I'm going to want to go to, if you have a PHP interpreter installed already, of course you can go ahead and run whatever PHP programs you have. I do have a PHP interpreter installed already, but you may not. So if you want to go ahead and go through the process of installing it on your own Mac or on Windows or whatever, a WAMP server, a LAMP server, or a XAMPP server, go ahead. But otherwise, I would just suggest that you go to the CSCE server. Now, if you want to, there is a link in the lab that walks you through how to set up a Samba share so that you can connect to your Z drive directly, and then you can edit files, say an Atom.io on your own machine right here, and then run them on the CSCE server. You can do that, or I'm just going to go ahead and run you through getting started though directly on the CSCE server. So the first thing is to get into the CSCE server. SSH, your login, of course, you're not me, so you would have to use your login at csce.unl.edu. Now, normally it's going to prompt you for a password. I've set it up so that it doesn't ask me for a password. I've set up some SSH keys, SSL keys, so that it doesn't prompt me for my password. But you might have to type your password. Now, if you're completely new to this, you'll notice that it won't give you any feedback when you're typing your password. That's a security measure. If somebody is looking over your shoulder, they won't see it. It'll be generally it'll be a bunch of stars, but even revealing the length of your password is information that you don't want out there. So type your password, hit enter, and you should be in as long as you've got your password. If you don't have your password, there are links in the lab for resetting your password. All right, so now I'm at the command line here. I'm just going to make a temporary directory here. Looks like it already exists. I don't know what's in there, so I'm just going to go ahead and blow that away. And I'll make a temporary directory here. I'm going to go into that temporary directory, and I'm going to clone the lab code for this lab. Okay. git clone, and then the URL is right there. And you'll see that it has now been checked out. I'm going to go ahead and go into that, that directory, and you can see that there is a PHP directory here. That's where all the PHP starter code is. CD into that directory. You can CD period to go up 1 level, right? / period to go up 2 levels, etc. Whatever you need to do. But now you can actually run this statistics program here, PHP statistics. Right? Please enter the number of integers. I'll just go ahead and enter 3 integers here, 1, 2, and 3. Right? And obviously there are some things in there that are wrong. You're going to have to go through and actually code that. That's going to be part of your lab. I'm just showing you how to get started here. Okay. You'll have to implement those functions, rerun your program, make sure it's that it works. You can also use you can use command line arguments here. Let me show you how to do that really quick. All right. So once you've implemented those, you'll need to change this this while loop here to run through the arguments of the array, or arguments of the at the command line. Now everything is just like C, so if you've got a C background already, you're good to go here. You just need to use $signs everywhere. argv sub 0, that's going to be the script name, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to print this out. It's a string. argv sub 0, that's the script name, which is statistics.php. Otherwise, you can print out the other values by using the 0 indexed array, so %s and the line. argv sub 1, that's the second one. That's actually the first one that you actually care about. You may not care about the actual script name here. I'm going to go ahead and provide that a couple times here. 2 and 3. Right. And I'll put 0 equals 1 equals, so that we can actually see these things when they're being printed out. And if we don't provide all those command line arguments, then it probably, since it's an interpreted language, it'll probably just print out nothing. Before I run this and demonstrate it, you can also print out the number of arguments. And that's stored in a variable called argc. Right? So let's go ahead and run that again with no command line arguments. Okay. Let's run that again. Sorry. We'll go ahead and put in 2 numbers here. 1, 2. All right. We are getting warnings here because we didn't provide any command line arguments beyond the script name. So there's an undefined offset 1, 2, and 3. But you can see that it wasn't fatal. Right? In fact, when I print these out here, 1 equals, it's not saying anything. 0 equals statistics.php. That's the script name. There was no 1, 2, and 3 produced, so it's not going to print anything. And we get this PHP warning. The number of arguments. Oops, sorry. The number of arguments there is 1, and there was me typing 1 and 2. Okay, so now let's actually provide some command line arguments, 10, 20, and 30. Right? And then, of course, we still have the interactive part here. And we see that the first one that we actually care about was 10, 20, and 30, and the number of arguments was 4. However, if we need to do, those are being treated as strings right now. We'll learn more about this as we start to cover PHP, but if you want to explicitly convert them over to integers, you can do that easily. Value is equal to, let's just convert the first one. You can use a to I, right, of argv sub 1. Right? And I'm storing that in a variable called val. Right? And then I can print that out. Val is equal to %d, because it's going to be an integer now. A to I is coming from C. That's alphanumeric to integer value. And val. Another way that you could do this, I believe, is int val, which is, I think it's just a macro alias of A to I here. But I'll go ahead and leave it like this, since this is maybe more familiar for you. And run that again with 10, 20, 30. We're only converting the first one, remember. I don't care about those. So Oops. Oh, okay. A to I is not there. Okay, that's fine. We can do something else. We can do intval, PHP intval. I just need to look it up to remind myself what it looks like. So, it's intval. And we should be good to go there. 2, 1, 2. And of course, I don't need to do the interactive part here. You see that it was transferred over here. So that's kind of interesting. Which PHP version? I am using version 5.6.40. That's weird. This is the official, php.net is the official documentation for PHP. Okay, A to I is not there. I misremembered. Sorry. Anyway, now, second part here, PHP in a dynamic web page. Some people got tripped up on this because of this is their first time setting up a public HTML directory. This is not my first time setting up a public HTML directory. I'm going to go ahead and go to back up several places here. Now I'm at my home directory. I could have done that really quickly by just going cd tilde, and it gets me right to where I need to be. Now you'll see here that it's already created public HTML, but of course if you were to do this, you would need to do make directory public HTML, and of course I'm not going to do this because it's already been created. Then there are some instructions on how to change the permissions so that it's world readable. What it needs to look like is, oops, I'll just do it like this so you can see what it looks like. It needs to be at least 755. You could probably get more restrictive than that, but that's what'll work. So if you need to, this should work out of the box. But if you go chmod, C-H-M-O-D, 755, and yeah, I'm just making sure that it's all on screen here for you. And then public HTML, then that should get you the same permissions over here. Now, if this is the first time that you've ever read this, this is the owner. I can read, I can write to it, and I can execute it for a directory. That means listing things in the directory. My group, which is faculty, can read and execute, but they can't write to it. Of course, I don't want other faculty writing to my web page or whatever. And of course, this is world readable and world executable. People can read from my public HTML directory, and they can also execute things in it. Now, I've got a bunch of stuff set up on my public HTML directory already, so I'm going to show you a little bit different way of doing this. In fact, this is probably what you want to do unless you want to go directly to your root and you have your lab be your web page. But I've gone into public HTML, and I'm just going to go ahead and I think I have another temp folder in here. I don't know what's in there, so I'm going to wipe that one away too. All right. Actually, I'll call this lab 01. All right. So I've made a directory called lab 01, and I'm going to go into that lab, and I think by default, lab 01. Let's see, where is it? Yeah, it's going to be 755. So if you just create a directory, your umask will look that up if you're unfamiliar with that. Should set it up correctly for you already. Okay. Now I'm going to go into that lab 01. And of course, I could reclone all that stuff from before and then put it right here. But basically, what you need is the birthday.php and the birthday result files in that directory or wherever you're wanting to put this stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and copy it from my home directory where I had it in that temp folder. And then inside that temp folder, it was the thing that I actually cloned, CSCE 156-lab01. And in that, there was the PHP folder, and then there are the birthday and birthday result. So I'm just going to copy both of those files into this directory. All right? And you see that they're there. But they're world. I can read and write them. I can't execute them. The world can read them, my group can read them, and the world can read them. That might be enough. Let's go ahead and try it out. Now remember that the script here is called birthday.php. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to point my browser to csce.unl.edu/tilde/cberk. Now, by itself, that would take you to whatever is stored in your public HTML directory, whatever is at the root. If you didn't put anything there, then it'll display nothing. But what I did is I put that lab01 folder inside of it, and then inside of that I have the birthday.php file. When I go to that URL, I can see this birthday calculator program here. So my name is Chris, and I was born yesterday, because I'm not going to tell you my real birthday, let's say. Oops. I'm not sure why it's not displaying all. Oh, probably because it's part of the. It might be part of the lab to actually display all these numbers. I was born. Oh, wow. Okay. There's some issues here that I'm going to have to look at offline. But once you submit it, then today you are 2,021 years old, right? And it's Wednesday, the last Wednesday of the month, so we're getting some alarms going off for testing purposes. Don't worry though; it's not nothing to worry about. All right, so that's the basic setup. And again, it's still not complete here. Of course, it walks you through what you need to do in order to get it actually working. But ultimately, all you have to do is submit that statistics.php file, and we'll mark you as complete. Right, that should be enough to get you started. Again, if you want to use the CS50 IDE, but of course it won't. It doesn't do web hosting, so it won't get you something that looks like this. If you want to use REPL, those are perfectly fine alternatives as well.